Ukraine and the United States have reached a minerals deal that is according to several senior Ukrainian officials. A notorious French fugitive whose prison escape killed 2 guards last year was extradited to France after he was arrested in Romania.
After recovering from a respiratory crisis, Pope Francis' clinical condition remains critical.
Luxembourg delays EU sanctions on Kigali almost a month after Rwanda-backed M23 rebels seized the city of Goma.
Ukraine and the United States reached an economic deal that would include the exploitation of Ukraine's minerals, that is according to several senior Ukrainian officials. One of the officials said they hoped the deal would improve ties between Kyiv and Washington and that it would ensure long-term support from the US. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky reportedly will travel to the United States to meet with US President Donald Trump. One of the officials said the deal could be signed as early as Friday.
I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly it's okay with me if he'd like to, and he would like to sign it together with me, and I understand that's a big deal.
It is not the first time that a deal as such got presented to Ukraine. The US had previously presented an offer that would allow them to access Ukraine's minerals in return for continued support. Zelensky had, however, turned down this proposal as it did not offer enough security guarantees for Ukraine. Ukrainian officials told the Financial Times that while this deal did not state explicit security guarantees either, its offer was far more favorable.
The Ukrainian army is fighting a decisive battle on the Pokrovsk frontline in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine. Fears that Russian troops could capture or bypass the nearby city of Pokrovsk and move deeper into the country are higher than ever. Most of the town's population was evacuated. Those remaining are hard to convince. We head to western Donbas. This is Ukraine's major coal mining basin, a crucial industry for the country's energy supply and a potential target for Moscow. The area's oldest mine is operating full swing, with the help of an increasing number of women as more and more men are being mobilized. Oksana fled her hometown of Bakhmut in the Donetsk region. Her father and eldest son were killed in the Russian bombings 2 years after she'd lost her mother and husband to COVID. She found a second breath at the mine and also in this dance school. A choreographer before the war, Oksana now gives dance classes to teenage girls.
A notorious French fugitive whose prison escape killed 2 guards last year was extradited to France after he was arrested in Romania.
Vous êtes content de retourner en France?
Maman, je t'aime, c'est tout.
Vous pouvez nous dire?
Maman, je t'aime, c'est tout. J'aime ma mère.
Mohamed Amra, also known as The Fly, was arrested near a shopping center in Bucharest. Investigators who tapped his phone discovered he was preparing to leave for Romania roughly 2 weeks ago. They had then monitored cameras surrounding the residence in the capital which he had rented, and special forces were able to arrest him after he had left the building for the first time. Umra had been sentenced for burglary in Normandy and was suspected of heading a drug trafficking network. French prosecutors said he was also under investigation for an attempted organized homicide and kidnapping that resulted in death.
It's been over 10 days since Pope Francis began battling pneumonia in both lungs, his longest hospital stay as Pope. After recovering from a respiratory crisis, his clinical condition remains critical. For now, the Vatican said he will remain at the Gemelli Hospital in Rome, where he's receiving treatment for as long as necessary.
Lo curano benissimo con un team di specialisti medici straordinari, dunque non possiamo escludere nessuna possibilità. Io mi auguro personalmente che risolva la situazione, intanto sarà una lunga degenza in ospedale di 2, 3 o 4 settimane perché i medici non vogliono farlo uscire fino al momento che siano convinti che può fare una vita tra virgolette normale.
Despite his hospitalization, the pontiff remains in charge of the Catholic Church.
Il governo della Chiesa continua perché il Papa ha un numero 2 che è il segretario di Stato, un numero 3 che è il sostituto della segreteria di Stato, ma questi governano un'amministrazione normale. Loro, per esempio, il cardinale segretario di Stato non può nominare un vescovo, non può creare una diocesi nuova, non può fare un patto con un paese o con un altro. Dunque è una situazione transitoria, ma non vuol dire che la Chiesa rimane senza governo, ma il vicepapa non esiste, per essere chiaro.
In 2013, he wrote a resignation letter in case his health ever stopped him from carrying out his duties.
Perché si firma dal primo giorno? In caso di impedimento mentale, non impedimento fisico. Non mi pare che l'impedimento fisico, che sussiste ormai da un po' di mesi, lo abbia fermato o frenato. L'impedimento, le dimissioni scritte servono solo in caso, qualora non sia in grado di intendere o, come dice lui, verbo che gli piace, discernere. Ma non mi pare che sia questo il caso.
Meanwhile, worshippers have gathered around the world and in the Vatican to pray for Pope Francis. Starting on Monday, the Vatican announced nighttime prayers for the Pope's health, inviting Romans and others to join. The first prayer, held on Monday, is being led by Cardinal Parolin, the Vatican's Secretary of State. Giorgio Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
Syria's interim leaders have kicked off a long-awaited national dialogue conference intended to help establish the country's political future. De facto President Ahmed al-Shara, the leader of the Islamist insurgent group that toppled Bashar al-Assad, has promised an inclusive political transition. He also said all of Syria's communities were invited to the conference.
إن النصر الذي تحقق وفرحة السوريين قد ساءت أقواما هنا وهناك ويسعون لتقويض منجزات الشعب فعلينا أن نكون حذرين ونواجه بصلابة وقوة وحزم أي من يريد العبث بأمننا ووحدتنا.
The gathering is meant to come up with non-binding recommendations for the country's interim rules ahead of the drafting of a new constitution and formation of a new government. Syria's leadership is hoping to rebuild diplomatic ties with Arab and Western countries and push for the removal of crippling sanctions imposed during al-Assad's rule.
Almost a month after the capture of Goma by Rwanda-backed M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Free Congo Collective has staged a protest in Brussels to demand the adoption of sanctions on Kigali.
J'ai des jeunes dans le groupe que j'encadre qui ont été massacrés, tués d'une balle dans la tête dans la ville de Goma. Donc la ville de Goma qui est occupée depuis le 27 janvier exactement, et aujourd'hui ça fait un mois. Un mois qu'il y a des gens qui vivent dans la terreur, un mois qu'on vit dans la peur, un mois que notre ville de Goma a été occupée par les rebelles du M23 et leur soutien rwandais.
The EU's response remains timid, and one country, Luxembourg, has opposed the immediate adoption of EU sanctions against Rwanda. In 2021, the Grand Duchy signed a bilateral agreement with Rwanda to support the development of Kigali's international financial center.
Je suis tout à fait pour des sanctions contre le M23, on peut déjà les prendre, c'est ce que j'ai dit aussi. Tout ce qui s'est passé, c'est que cette semaine, il y a des négociations qui ont lieu à Harare entre les ministres des Affaires étrangères africains. Et je pense qu'il est important, avant de vouloir prendre des sanctions contre le Rwanda, d'attendre ce résultat, ces 3 ou 4 prochains jours, pour voir si on va dans la bonne direction. Mais tout en disant cependant qu'on est d'accord pour que de nouvelles sanctions soient prises, pour en fait augmenter la pression.
The EU has also urged Rwanda to withdraw its troops from the DRC, and the Memorandum of Understanding concerning essential raw materials will be re-examined. This move serves as leverage to encourage Rwanda to comply with regional stability efforts.
Ce sont des mesures très timides et qui viennent de façon très très tardive, puisque quand on parle par exemple du protocole d'accord, en réalité le protocole d'accord n'est pas exécuté. Normalement il doit se traduire dans une feuille de route, mais la feuille de route n'a jamais pris corps, puisqu'il y a un refus du Rwanda de se soumettre aux exigences de transparence du secteur minier. Et donc finalement c'est un peu un coup d'épée dans l'eau.
The fighting in the east of DRC has left thousands of people dead and displaced, according to the UN. Numerous armed groups, often backed by different regional powers, have been fighting for control of areas rich in raw materials for decades.